the voice of the Detroit Lions on the radio. He is Dan Miller, Fox 2. D Mills, what's going on, brother?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, Dan.
Doing really good, doing really good. Two quick questions about this crazy win that was Detroit Lions 52-6 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Thing one, when they get 4 touchdowns in a row, are you now thinking how many can they get in a row, or does 7 just surprise you? 7 touchdowns on 7 possessions
38 first
by
downs.
the All-Stars. Ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's all surprising. I mean, look, you just don't expect that in the NFL. You don't expect that against a defense that's got, a Lewican, who's got Hines Allen, who's
Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, Trayvon Walker. I mean, look, there's good. Campbell's a terrific cornerback. There's good players over there.
Yeah.
But they were clearly just clicking. They clearly were not happy about what had happened the week before. They had won, but they felt like they hadn't played up to their standards. I think it was just kind of a confluence of circumstances. And I think, too, when you get a team like that that's having a miserable season, there's rumors their coach is going to be fired, and you get up on them, 28-3 or whatever it was, something like that, you can see a little bit of the air going out of them. But to score 7 consecutive touchdowns, score on 8 possessions, go back to the Houston game, you got a run of 11 straight possessions in which you've scored. You don't expect that. That's when you just sit back and say, wow, and enjoy it while it's going on, because it's unusual.
Dan, I played in Cleveland, so I've seen a couple seasons like the Jacksonville Jaguars are having now, so I definitely understand that mentality. Here's another quick question. You talk about the second half of the defense. 2 games in a row, they haven't allowed a touchdown. They haven't allowed a point. And then what they did on offense, Dan Campbell was asked, how do you keep the foot on the gas? How do you get better? Can this Detroit Lions team, can they get better right now?
Yeah, I think they can get better, and I think where they can get better is with the pass rush. I think that's still the area that probably can be improved the most. You only have 1 game now from Zadarius Smith. He's obviously a big part of that. And then how other guys play off him. You see how they used him in that game. A lot of games, a lot of stunts, playing him inside. I think he's capable of playing outside, matchup dependent. We were talking about that in the booth on Sunday. So I do think, because I think that thing, if that gets a little bit better, then this secondary, which is already really good, gets more chances to make plays on the ball. And then all of a sudden, you're talking about takeaways, quick changes in games, and ways that you can get the offense the ball back, which is ideally what this team would like to do. So, yeah, I do think they can get better. But look, that effort, when you start talking about their ability to stop the run and what they did to Mixon, and then what they did this week, I mean, look, guys, that's where it starts. And that's what this team's been known for now for going on 2 years. What was Mixon, 26 for 48 or 58 or whatever?
2.7 to carry,
like
I think.
And a broken surface broke.
Yeah, I mean, and then, Jacksonville clearly trying to give Mac Jones a running game, and Bigsby didn't play, but they still got ETN. But you shut that thing down, so there's really nowhere for them to go. So every time that defense is able to shut down the run on somebody, man, it puts you in a great position because, look, we've been talking about this since all of us started covering the game. If you make a team one-dimensional, it is advantage to the defense big time.
Dan, it took me back to the Dallas game. I was having so much fun watching this offense just do whatever the hell they wanted, and then came the injury to Hutch, then the injury to Anzalone, and it just took the wind out of me. And I know they finished the game strong, but they beat a team that was already beaten up. Where does this injury take the Lions going forward?
I mean, look, it's significant because he's a leader on this team. He's a captain for a reason. He calls out the defense. But at the same time, I think if we've seen anything from this team, it's that they don't blink. You can go up and down the roster as to how many guys they've lost on this defense. Now, there does come a breaking point. But, I mean, when you start talking about Hutch and Davenport and Barnes and Mosley and Melifonwu and now Alex and different guys that they've lost along the way, but they just seem to have somebody ready to go. And I think in this case, getting Malcolm Rodriguez back last week, getting snaps under his belt because he's going to have to take on a bigger role this week. Campbell was already taking on a big role.
There you go.
So I think they're going to be okay. Now, that doesn't mean you don't want Alex in there because you do, but I do think that they have guys that are ready to roll. I think Ben Neiman has had some good snaps for him. I think Nowatzki has had some good snaps for him, and they've used him in different ways. I think talking to Coach, they like Ezekiel Turner. They like some of the things that he can do defensively. He gives you a lot of different abilities if they need to call on him. He's already a heavy special teams guy. So I think they're going to be okay. You don't like to see it because he's a heck of a guy. He's battled through a lot here in Detroit. He's one of the OGs that has been there from the beginning with this group and figured things out along the way. And it's kind of interesting to see the journey of Alex, where people were looking at him that first year and wondering if he was worthy of bringing back. And then all of a sudden they did bring him back, and now he's a leader and one of the big play guys on this team that can fly all over the field. So you hate to see it, but I think Jack and Malcolm leading the way at defense, they're going to do fine. I think they'll be all right.
You get the Colts this week, Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, Anthony Richardson now. Here's a mobile quarterback. Maybe get you ready for the Buffalo Bills game when you got a mobile quarterback there. What's your take on the Colts game? What do they do to win this game?
Yeah, got to get you ready for Chicago and Green Bay first. I mean, you got two NFC North games coming up after this. Look, Richardson's a wild card. He's obviously a tremendously gifted player. Big arm, not necessarily all that accurate if you look at the numbers. Had probably, though, his best game this past week after
against
being
my
benched.
Jets.
So there was. He had probably his best game. And so, look, maybe they're catching him on an uptick. We're going to have to see how it goes. Obviously, stopping Taylor is going to be job one. He's a great back. And if he's running the ball, then clearly that makes it easier for Richardson. They've got some guys on the outside that can make some plays. Downs is having a breakout year. So you need to be careful with this team. Look, we're going to say that every week, guys. And while the Lions may be big favorites, anything can happen in this league. If you go in there and have a clunker, or don't play up to your standards, or turn the ball over and give a reason to a team like this, which believes it's now back in the playoff race and believes it's now back in the division race, even though they've lost twice to Houston, they're going to come in there looking for a reason to feel confident. And if you can take that away from them, like they did to Jacksonville, that's, I think, ideally the way you play a game like this. But it's on the road. Won't be easy. I think there'll be a lot of Lions fans there. But, again, you got to handle your business. And I look at this game like you're the better team. Go in there, exert your will, handle your business, get out of there, and come back for two tough ones at home, NFC North, over the next 2 Thursdays.
It's a Wednesday here at Woodward Sports, and that means that we've got Dan Miller's Weekly Drive presented by Les Stanford. We love having you here. We talked early in the show, before we got on the horn with you, about Dan Campbell's understanding of the city of Detroit and why that has helped him be so successful. But then we doubled down and we talked about you and about how you've been here since the dark days started and how you understand this city so much. I've become pretty fascinated with you over this last year, this season, and getting to talk to you on Wednesdays. And I've been spending a lot of time watching those calls from the broadcast booth. I don't think you've ever gotten a chance to shout out your staff. They are so on point, handing you notes and keeping you up to date. I always wondered how you hit all these stats and how all of this history and information so quickly and so on point. Can you just speak to the team that makes you the best broadcaster in the NFL?
Yeah, well, thank you, number one. And there's a lot of good ones in this league. But you can't do it alone. And I think that's probably the best thing that these videos have shown people, is that it's not just me and Lomas and TJ up there. You know, we got a team, whether it's Tim Jetsky, our engineer, who makes sure we get on the air, or whether it's Mike Bratta, who is sticky note guy, who is the one who's always writing things down and handing them to me. And, you know, what people probably can't see because it's behind the camera is he's got a whole wall full of sticky notes in case, you know, Jared completes 6 in a row or Demo gets a touchdown because it's a certain milestone. So all these things are ready to go. And he goes over those with me before the game. To my right is Carl Mall, who's the spotter, who points out, helps me, who's got the ball, who made the tackle, who, recovered the fumble, things like that. And that's big time help because, a lot of times you're following the ball, maybe something happens away from it. You need somebody there to kind of back you up. And while people at home don't know that there's somebody helping you do those things, there is. And, I've been lucky in my career that I've worked with amazing people, from Al Rosenberg, who is the best engineer in play-by-play sports. I worked with him for a number of years, to Joe Abramson, who was my spotter for 23 years. I wouldn't be where I am without the people that I've worked with along the way, the amazing people that I worked with at Fox when I did games there for 5 years and did nothing but learn from them because they were all much further along in their careers than I was. So I just tried to be a sponge as much as I could. So, it is absolutely a team effort. People see that now. That's, to me, the best thing, as I said, about those videos. But it's there's a lot going on up there. You're trying to keep it all straight. And the most important thing is be factually correct, paint a picture. And it's easier to paint that picture for the listener if you have people, your right arm, your left arm, and veterans like guys that know the game like TJ and Lomas who can just see things that I never see and point them out. And it's fun. It's a fun way to go to work. It's enjoyable to do it because you're working with, great professionals. And like I said, I've been lucky enough in my 20 years with the Lions and all the years that I've done other things before that to work with amazing people.
And Dan, you still the GOAT, man. It's always great to talk to you here. And unfortunately, I gotta ask you.
Y'all don't say these nice things about me.
Yo, well,
I'm just saying. Y'all
we
don't
see
say
you
nice
every
things
day.
about me.
This is Dan Miller.
I'm
Talking
just
about. This is the
joking. I
GOAT
love
of
Dan,
Lions football right here. But unfortunately, I gotta ask you about J-Mo. And it's been up for debate. The kid, he had a great touchdown in that game, 64 yards, seemed to get back on track. But some people take issue with the celebration. And, some feel that he could have gotten hurt from it. Some feel like, this is something that's showing a pattern of behavior that could hurt him in the long run. What is your take on the J-Mo celebration? Do you think it was too much? And do you think this is something that maybe the team brought up to him afterwards and said maybe this was doing a little too much?
I don't know if they did. I would guess maybe Dan would say, hey, a little different hand placement there on the dive might be the way to go. And,
Right.
I know they're not thrilled sometimes when Kirby does the flips coming out. They don't want guys doing things that could hurt themselves. So my guess is they probably said something to him. But look, I'm not going to lump this into some pattern of horrible behavior by J-Mo. I don't think – look, I'm a J-Mo guy, and I understand there's some times where he's got to make better decisions in some of the things that he does. But, and I think we've talked about this before, the growth that I've seen from him from the day that he walked in the door to where he is today is so significant and such a, credit to him because there have been people that have helped him, but he's got to be willing to listen to those people and take that help. And I just think that's where I'm at on it. I know there are people that get upset. I hear from them and he shouldn't be doing that. Wouldn't be my choice that he flies into the end zone like that because I don't want to see him get hurt and land the wrong way or something. But, man, I just love the kid's talent. I love his electricity. I love the growth that I've seen in him. I love the kid's smile. I think he's engaging. I think there's just something charismatic about him when you get a chance to talk to him. I think he's young. I think he's still maturing. I think there's a lot of things coming at him. And I would say this, man, if you opened all the doors for me that Braylon, you had open when you were a young player or J-Mo had open when he's a young player, I'm not sure how I would have handled it. So, some handle it better than others. Some handle it better faster than others. And I'm here to tell you, I look at the positives with him, and that is what I've seen from where he came in to where he is now. And I'm not going to, call that celebration part of a pattern of bad behavior or anything like that. It's probably something I'd just say, come on, man, maybe we don't need that. Let's just run into the end zone and then do your celebration. It's like Amon-Ra said after the game. He lets J-Mo score. He follows into the end zone. Then he waits 5 minutes for J-Mo to finish his celebration, and then he goes over and congratulates him, which I thought was perfect.
Dan, I can tell you that I was not par for the course. It took me a minute to understand how to be mature, but you're absolutely correct. It takes time. It takes the right players. You brought up the person who I wanted to finish out. It's not a lot to talk about this Detroit Lions team. They're so good. If you're not talking injuries, you're talking about the offense. But it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. There was a moment in that game where you see Jameson Williams sitting on the bench to the left. You see Amon-Ra St. Brown sitting on the bench to the right. They're sitting side by side. J-Mo's like wagging, he's kicking his feet. He's laughing. He's enjoying the moment. Amon-Ra St. Brown is quiet. He's focused. He's dialed in. They are day and night. But how good and how important was it to get Amon-Ra St. Brown going? And I know he's a team guy. But to have him get 162, 2 touchdowns, and get that thing going,
11 for 11.
He's an all-pro wide receiver. Sometimes you got to get those guys going.
Yeah, he's unbelievable, and it is top to bottom with him. It is work ethic, talent, coming together to form an all-pro football player, and he is an all-pro football player. And I don't put any limits on what he can ultimately become, from a yearly all-pro to a Hall of Famer the day that he decides to hang him up. I think he's that good. And I just think, man, if everybody within their chosen field, whether you are a banker or a window washer or a cook or a sportscaster or whatever you do, if you had his relentless desire to be great and willingness to do whatever it was to be great, we'd all be a lot better at our jobs, because he is truly one of the most amazing athletes that I've seen.